So I wasn't really planning on going and seeing this movie. I wouldn't say I'm that much of a Transformers fan anymore, but as a kid, I was a huge Transformers fan. Whether it was Michael Bay's, original trilogy, the first three that came out, I think like '07, '09, and 11, whether it was that or going to Blockbuster Video and just ordering just renting out one of the animated ones from the 90s, from the 2000s, whatever it might be. I was all over Transformers as a kid, but lately, especially with Transformers The Last Night or whatever, I haven't been liking Transformers. I didn't even watch Bumblebee. I heard some good things about Bumblebee, some terrible things about Bumblebee. But my nana and pa, my grandparents, extremely big Transformers fans. Well, I wouldn't say extremely, they just watched a lot of it with me when I was growing up. They were like, just for old time's sakes, you want to go see this movie? And I was like, shit. Fuck it, why not, right? So I went to go and see this movie with them, and weirdly enough, Transformers The Rise of the Beasts, or whatever it's called, I actually didn't mind. I know the reviews have been kind of shit online. Like, I think the average review is about 53%, so basically a 5 out of 10. They've been kind of like that, and that's the consensus online, but I actually like this movie. Now, I'm not going to say it's much better than a 5 out of 10. I'd probably say it's around a 60 to 65% out of 10, 6 out of 10 for me, to be safe with that one. But I honestly feel like this is still a better movie than a ton of the other blockbusters that are coming around right now, and coming out, sorry. Now, don't get me wrong. There are a lot of things wrong with this movie, but there are a lot of things cool about this movie that I definitely like. First of all, a couple of things that are definitely wrong with this movie include, I know this is personal opinion, again, that's just how it is my personal opinion, but I forgot her name, Elena or something. God, I did not like her character at all. I didn't resemble with one thing about her character, nor did I even look at her character arc and go, yeah, that's just, something I can relate to as a person, something I find interesting. There wasn't a whole lot to her character other than being this annoying fucking chick who kind of just lives at the museum, studies shit. There's really not much more to her character other than, the main character, the bloke, I forgot his name already, but I actually did like a lot of his character. It's definitely a character that we've seen a ton of times in movies, but I thought he was still a better fleshed out, better developed character than what Elena was, that's for sure. Again, I also felt like Optimus Prime was severely nerfed for the first 90% of this movie. Again, spoilers, by the way, in case you don't, you actually do want to go see this movie and you don't want to be fucked over, obviously. Optimus Prime was kind of nerfed for the first 90% of this movie, and then all of a sudden he turns into a demigod in the last 10%, and you just think, well, there's a lot of plot armor kind of in that last 10%, considering you set him up to be a little bit of a bitch. Like, he was kind of getting dominated by the main villain of this movie, which is unlike Optimus Prime. Like, I always thought in the Michael Bay movies, Optimus Prime was supposed to be this guy who could really only be defeated by another Prime, right? Again, there's a couple of dudes out there that could maybe knock him off, as we know, but in this movie, it seemed like a different direction, seemed like a weaker Optimus Prime, and I don't know why that was kind of really set up like that. Again, in terms of that, Elena's character being pretty shit. Again, the CGI was very, very mid, but you kind of accept that with a lot of movies now. Like, if we were to compare this 2023 CGI movie to the 2007 Transformers movie, the CGI in the 2007 movie is like 20 times better than what it was in this movie. I applaud them for trying to change the art style and trying to go back to somewhat of the 90s animated art style, but yeah, it just, the CGI, it wasn't that great, and honestly, I think a lot of the points get deducted off this movie because the CGI was pretty mid, and that's not necessarily anything wrong with the people who actually did the CGI. We know now that most people who work on CGI movies in Hollywood are extremely overworked. Some are underpaid, and a lot of them don't get enough time to do what they want to and what their creative vision is. So I understand why it is not what it was in 2007, but I mean, you still have to knock off a lot of points just for the CGI kind of being a little boring. You know, the art style a little bit boring. Like, it seemed like we almost went back in in our progress of how movies have been looking like in the, you know, in the 2010s and whatnot, and the early 2010s, end of 2000s. Seems like we've kind of taken not just one step back, but a couple steps back in the terms of all of that. Again, there's a couple other negatives, but I'd like to get into some positives now. First of all, I'm a big fan of Marky Mark. For any of you who don't know, Mark Wahlberg's my favorite actor, probably. Not that I liked him that much in Transformers, but he is my favorite actor really of all time. I thought the Marky Mark reference in this movie was really, really funny, and it's kind of interesting. Really shows that they're probably not in the same universe, considering Mark Wahlberg played, you know, he played the dude in the 4th and 5th movie. The soundtrack from the Bay movies returned at the end. I thought the music overall for a lot of the movie wasn't forced, and look, a Biggie song here and there definitely can sound forced in a movie, but in this one I kind of liked what they were doing, and I think it was Hypnotized was the song played. I thought that was a pretty good one, and I did like that a lot. Again, the action in this movie was pretty good. The CGI can sometimes diminish what the action was trying to do, but at the end of it, I thought it was pretty cool. It did make a lot of sense, and the action just seemed alright, and I liked some of that, what I was saying there. Again, another negative that I didn't mention, we'll go back to this, but the main character ended up wearing Mirage as like a costume. What the fuck was that? That was so stupid. I hated everything about that. It was so dumb. But then I bring that up because the positive of this movie as well, I liked Mirage's character. I really did. I thought Pete Davidson did an extremely good job in this one. And another reason why I liked it as well is because they brought in this really big comedy actor who has been known to have a very distinctive style on how he goes about things. But it didn't feel forced. It didn't feel like I was watching Pete Davidson out there. It felt like I was actually watching Mirage, just voice acted by Pete Davidson. Like, I thought that was pretty good. Definitely was a really awesome character, and I'm really happy they introduced him. And it seems like for these new movies, they're going to be turning him into the main, like what Bumblebee was supposed to be. And I rate that. I actually really like that, because Bumblebee, I like him being my generation's guy. I feel like Optimus Prime was the 90s guy. You know, he was a generation for the 90s and whatnot. Bumblebee was like the 2000s and early 2010s, right? Rest of 2010s, we didn't really have one. And then 2020s, I think they might be making Mirage like that guy. And I'm all for that. I think it changes some stuff up, and I'm actually pretty happy with that. And Pete Davidson did like an extremely good job. Like, he wasn't trying to force Pete Davidson on me, like, which is what we know has Pete Davidson has been in a lot of roles, is that forceful Pete Davidson. You know, it felt like I was actually watching Pete Davidson voice Mirage. It didn't feel like I was watching Pete Davidson, if that makes sense. So I was really, really happy about that. And I almost thought he kind of stole the show in this movie. I thought he was actually really, really good, and I really liked his character. He wasn't too much like Bumblebee. He was kind of his own separate thing. Yeah, there was a lot of good things definitely about his character, in my opinion. Overall, some good things about this movie. The story was pretty nice. I'm not sure what's going on with that G.I. Joe thing at the end. Again, I actually haven't watched Snake Eyes, and I haven't seen a G.I. Joe movie since I went to the one in the 2013 cinemas, I think with my mum. We weren't even planning on watching G.I. Joe. We were just saying, is there any movie on that'd be somewhat interesting? You know, back in the day when your mum couldn't figure out what to do with you on school holidays, so she'd just take you to the movie theater. That movie happened to be on, and I remember very much somewhat enjoying it as a kid, even though I was pretty young when that 2013 movie I think came out. I might have been like, I don't know, I definitely wasn't young, but I was not above 15, I don't think. So I don't, you know, it definitely was an interesting experience, and I'm not sure what's going to be going on there. I might have to revisit that movie, I think. But of course, if you haven't already, please make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Comment your thoughts and opinions down below, what you guys think about this new Transformers movie. I'd very much like to know. But as I was saying, please make sure to leave a like, subscribe, and comment. And I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.